Hello everyone. We are back again for some more game development in Unity. So, let me gather my thoughts a little bit. All right. So here we go. So a little bit of a recap of where we're at yesterday. Alright, so what we had yesterday was that, oh, that's interesting. Here. We've got a moving character still that can jump. And then we have pots that you can pick up and pots that you can throw out. Pots that you can pick up and points that you can throw out. A couple things we're going to do today, and I'm going to make a list so that I don't end up getting stuck like yesterday doing one thing, because that gets very annoying very quickly. I'm gonna make the list in our thing here. So this is our new grab system. It's more like a new, it's like interaction, main interaction or dungeon interaction or whatever. But basically, you know, to do for now. Actually, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it 3. So to do for now, we've got to do. So right now we have a character that moves around. We want to have a throw function, a method to throw when holding the button, and it'll make more sense as I get more stuff. We want a method to kind of like. So what we want is. Basically, we have stuff that you can pick it up, and that's fine. It doesn't really need that big of an animation. It's not, for now, it's just a prototype to make sure that everything is fun. We'll work on animations later, but once we pick it up, there's a couple of things that we want to kind of create. We want to create this. Right now, when you press E, it will. Those are the old temporary buttons, but when you press the throw button, it throws something forward. What we want is something a little bit differently. We want the button when you just press it to be just like you get rid of the top of what you're holding right now in a way that's a little chaotic. So we're gonna want it to have, like coming out of your head or your back or a point in a random direction, as in like you kind of, getting stuff out of your back like this. So that's this thing. So change the press to be a chaotic kind of drop item, kind of like a throw, but more of like a throw in force. Then we want the fact that when you hold the button, it's gonna make it so that you actually throw something in a direction with a certain force. So that's what I said, throw when holding a button. In that, there's going to be a couple things. So like the, base strength of the throw on the length of, on how long the button was held. You can see me do that strength. A lot. So that's for the throwing mechanic. And those two things are kind of going to be a big deal. After that, what we're going to do is make a drag function. So when you hold a joint that is, not grabbable, like you can pick it up. It's not a pot. It's going to be like a door, a lever, a rope connected to a wall, like that type of stuff. We're also going to do So drag function, you know, it's going to be like objects that can be pulled and pushed to be moved around the joint. So it's going to be like you hold the joint, you pull the joint, it's connected to another body that will also pull the joint. And with that, we'll be able to kind of have fun after that with the level design, where we'll be able to make like, you know, traps that sends you flying, because that we kind of already have it. We're going to be able to make all sorts of situation, and we'll see how that goes. And yeah, let's see how that goes. After that, it's going to be just the beginning of the journey. It's just to test out a few things. Alright, so let's start with this. The start. Change the press to a chaotic drop item. So right now, the drop is down here on throw. So when you throw an item, here's what we have. It adds a force in a certain direction, that is the forward direction, plus the throw vector is kind of like the inclination of it. We're not gonna want it like that, I think. But it adds a direction that's normalized, and it adds a force that we're also going to normalize around a specific range. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, and we're going to make a function down there that's going to be a little simpler. Private void. Nope. Private void. Throw objects. Throw grabbable, we're going to call it. It's going to take a grabbable object, I think it is, over the items picked up or picking up. So it's going to take a kind of object to throw as a parameter, and then we're going to put that in there. It's going to do the same thing, and we're also going to add the strength vector and a randomized bow. So this is going to be false by default, and here this is going to be true. That way we'll be able to call this every time we want to throw a grabbable object. We'll just pass it a force and make it random. Yeah, we'll make sure it works still fine by doing this, then throw force, and random is going to be random. We're going to leave it true here because that's what we want for now. But later, it won't do anything right now. And this is what we want here. Random will modify kind of this line. And that should be a little bit of something. It should just, you know, work. Should work with absolutely no difference. See here, we have a dungeon pot, and then when we throw it out, it throws it out. No issues, same movement, same everything, just throws it out. A couple things we're still gonna add though, and there, we're gonna add a random bool, and we're also gonna add a maintain rigid body. Maintain original velocity, conserve velocity, we're going to call it conserve velocity. This is also going to be equal to true by default. Hey Grind Boots, doing good. 3D physics, yeah. My dogs are good. They were fighting over, we got them those new bones. That is, you know, I don't know, it's like that, it's a white bone with a treat in the middle of it, and I have two tiny dogs, and they're both addicted to those toys right now. They absolutely love them. One of them is on my bed right next to me, that way, just eating the bone with not a care in the world for what's going on around her, and the other one is in the other room doing the same thing. But when they meet over the same bone, that's when it clashes and causes issues. But yeah, other than that, 3D physics. It's gonna be fun. So I don't know if you were there at the beginning, but just to I'll show it off again, kind of like where we at, what we have right now. It's all temporary assets, but we kind of want to mix like a mix between like Lethal Company, but a bit more like lighthearted, silly, and funny. And we're gonna have dungeons based mostly on like physics, not like like those crazy gamey ragdoll physics, where you're get thrown out around. You have monsters that are roaming the world, and the most things that you have to do is go in a dungeon, pick up all the objects, and try to exit without dying. And we want to kind of like replicate those moments where it's kind of like chaotic fun as the category, where you'll be just like picking up stuff, being chased by a monster with your friends, getting caught, and you have so right now what we're working on is a method to just throw items that you can pick up items around the dungeon to help you solve like puzzles, fight like monsters, because you can't like there's no regular combat. We'll kind of continue with that thing for now, where every interaction is going to be through what you can do with your environment, how you can like use the puzzles of a specific dungeon to trick a monster, use the items that you found to like bring the loot back to the entrance, all that stuff. So it's gonna, right now we just have this thing that you can pick up and throw a pot. And we're gonna make it, so I made a to-do here, up there. The first thing we're doing is that we're adding a bit of randomness when we're throwing it. So when you pick up an item and you run, what we want is to have two behaviors to throw. The just a regular press, which is, right now it's a throw, but the regular press should be something that it just like makes you drop an item. So like you'll be playing around, you throw, like you have too much to carry, a monster reaches you, you want to drop some items. This is kind of like the types of behaviors we want. And you drop some items that you want to be able to run faster, hide. But then you have to get back to them. You can use items to throw on traps. So that's a chaotic drop, so that you drop an item. And then a throw, when you hold, so like when you hold it, it will give you kind of like a vector of how far you can throw it based on how long you hold the button, basically. But it's been troubles already. We've been working on this short prototype for not that long, for a couple weeks, I would say, because before that we were only focused on Wild Deer inside. So throw grabbable. So this is what we have right now. So we're working on making sure we have something that oh, hey Casey. So yeah, Casey was how you doing? He was the very first concept artist that I worked with. Brings me back. How are you doing now? Also, Casey, the music that you bunch of hats. That's interesting. Hats are Sorry, I got lost in my train of thought with physics. Yeah. I have to. So this is like the soundtrack that we're working on, that we're hoping to like put out relatively soon. But there is a total of 62 tracks, and I have to name all of them. Because right now it's like the names are Sad Ox Scene, Forest Ox, Forest Bridge Day. It's taking me a while to find names for each and every one of them. But we're getting there. This is the red gem. That's the only one I named so far. I think the red gem is my favorite song of the whole soundtrack. So what we want here is to have a random force and a random direction when we have true here. You know, actually, we're gonna remove true on that one, and we're gonna add a vector 3 for direction and a float for strength. And that direction is not gonna be here. It's gonna be here. Oh yeah. There's that song is actually, it has a lot of layers. So I'm not an audio person, so we'd have to ask Alan. But it has a lot of layers. So when we were developing that song, when we made it for Switch, while playing, we realized that when you were playing, after a certain time, kind of like there was a bug where the song was kind of skipping and taking too much resources, and it was blocking every other sound effects in the game. So in addition to a bunch of other kind of optimization issues that were kind of the core roots, but thanks to that song we found those issues because it was such a large song that we wanted to keep in the game. And yeah, developing for the Switch was fun. Let me try with false here, and then here I want to add a drop force range. Drop force range, and that's going to come to here. Drop force range between 0 and drop force range 1. That's going to give us a random strength, and then the direction we want it to be random. We want to be random around the character, pretty much. Actually, all over the character. So we're just going to do Hmm. We want x, y. So we want to be the x rotation, sorry. So the x-axis and z-axis. So it's mainly the z and the y that we want to have, and the x, all three axes, so that we can shoot something in this direction rather than just these two. Okay, so let's just start by doing a sort of really bad one. This is horrible, but I just want to try something out. This is just going to give us values, random values on the x, y, and z between 0 and 1, I think. Yeah, between 0 and 1. And that should have the effect of shooting stuff in the air in an unpredictable-ish way. So the throw force to go forward is 10. I'm gonna make this one between 1 and 3, just so we see something. And we're gonna pick it up, and then we could drop it. Yeah, so, and then if you move and then you drop, yeah, it kind of swings up in the air. You know what? I actually don't detest the way this feels. You know, like you walk around and then, you know, it just drops in whatever direction it is. Boop. So it drops forward. I think we still want to conserve velocity, you know, so that we have a bit of a true, like that. If we conserve velocity, we'll have a bit of a more of a, it's gonna keep going forward rather than just hit you in the head after you throw it out, especially if you fall, jump, all that stuff. It's mostly if you were to jump and drop it at the same time, it would kind of just fall flat, which is a little bit not great. So like if you hold it, is it me or does it always come out in front? It's always coming out the same, huh? It's kind of always coming out in front of us. So what I'm gonna do instead is take a page out of Unity's book where they do this thing, angular x, high angular x, limit bounciness, and there's some springs. So we kind of want to limit and then normalize it. So let's do that. Then we're gonna normalize this and multiply it by the strength of this thing. So we're gonna have a random force equal to that thing, which gives us a random value between those two things, and we're gonna have a random direction, which is going to be, nope, this, and then here it's going to go like that. And then in here, instead of having it be this way, I'm gonna keep it here, same kind of logic, but it's gonna be a different variables. I don't know why it's putting single epsilon every time. It's a little annoying. And then we normalize it so that we just have the direction and not a bunch of other stuff. But that way we'll be able to control a little bit more what it returns. Because if it returns something between a 0 and a y, it's always going to be meh. Let's make a second header for the drop stuff. Drop item. The random drop. The random drop. There. And they're going to be floats too, which is going to be m. And the x drop range. Y and Z, X, Y, and Z. Now that we have those, we're gonna go in here and put it in there. And the copy and paste button helps. This is the player camp song. Alright, now we go to the editor and here, and we're gonna just put some values. We're gonna be generous this time around, just between 0 and 360 in degrees. What I'm expecting here is that it's gonna give us a little bit more of a like wide range of options of where it's storing things. Or is it? Let me, you know what? Let me make it 15. No. 180 on the z-axis. So if it's between 180, it should just always go behind us, right? No. Oh boy. Oh, because it's always coming from here and then it hits our rigid body. Huh. So I guess we're gonna want to have it come from a different position. And the start position on this, can we just make it the top of the character? It's gonna be transform that position plus vector 3 dot up plus vector 3 dot up, so it's gonna kind of be like oh nope, not what I wanted to do. It's gonna be thrown from about here, I think, and then it's gonna go be up and down, which I think I kind of like. It's gonna end up making it plus vec 3 dot up twice, which is gonna make it 2 units above the position. And since the position is like here, it's gonna be 1 and then 2 above the character. But you just want to make sure it's not coming out from above, from like going inside the collider, the player. Yeah. All right. Now it's actually going in different directions. Always kind of the back though. Because you know what? Did we? No. Did we make it 0 and 360 here? And if I make it 0 and 180, it just goes up on my head. Just falls flat on the head. I think we also kind of want it to be 0 and 180 on the just to try it how this feels. It can just falls flat. 3 and 5, 3 and 6. Okay. And if I run, it just kind of falls and you drop it either in front of you or... Hey, this was in front of us. All right. But I think those 3 variables are kind of useless though. So let me just do this. Just want to see if it has any difference. When we do it like that, we don't need to normalize it because it's already between 0 and 1. So if we normalize a vector that's already normalized, it's going to be really small. I think. I kind of learned all my math on the fly while working on the 2D pixel art game, so I'm a little fuzzy. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? What I forgot to do is I'm just gonna make that a little bit stronger between 4 and 8 so that it does have some more drastic variations of what we want. It's weird because it's like, yeah, it keeps the velocity, but when you're standing, yeah, okay. I think it's just 3 is just too small, probably. Yeah, this is just kind of like a throw. Like it just throws it out. Kind of randomly, like, you know, get this out of my bag. I need to run. That's the... But it kind of works, alright. One thing that I'm going to do before we do the rest is make sure the other parts are kind of the same, as just as interactable and all that stuff, so that we have more resources to play with. To do that, we're going to apply the override here. And then we're going to go find a bunch of other parts that we can use. Why is my camera not wanting to move here? Did I do something to... Ah, there we go. What does that do? Oh. Discovered something. Oh, you know what it is? This is what I should have used during the whole development of Valdirion's Heart. Instead, we were just probably using that, but not in the correct way. Where Where are those? I think they're in decorations. Yes, they are. We have dungeon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. And the crates. Do we want to pick up the crates? We probably want to pick up the crates. But why is there so many colliders on that crate? Wait a minute. Why do you need... Oh, you know what it is? It probably is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. That's what it is. Okay, makes sense. Alright, let's do the pots. The pots needs a rigid body. And it needs a portable object. And I think that's it. We could replace that with a mesh collider that provides contact and convex. So mesh collider, rigid body, portable object. Remove this. True, true. Then this. Portable object, rigid body, mesh collider, 4, portable object, rigid body, mesh collider, and 6 it's going to be portable objects, rigid body, mesh collider. And instead of having to do this every object, we're going to do a require components type of rigid body and portable objects. Up, and then type of here, type of portable object here, rigid body and portable object, so that when we add this one, it will automatically add the other two, I think. This is the goal I'm hoping for. Just try it out on the crate. Portable object, rigid body. Oh, that's stupid. We just want rigid body, because then the colliders don't. We kind of want one. We kind of make sure we have at least one collider to make sure we can pick it up. Otherwise, it's a little meh. So that should work, I think. Yeah, I was just talking about that like 5 minutes ago before you got there. I think it's like, because you know what I think they did, and I'm saying they because this is test assets, but it is 1 collider, 2 collider, 3 colliders, 4 colliders, 5 colliders. Let me turn on. Yeah, look at that. It's for each wall plus the ground. Yeah, I think you can just do a mesh collider instead, and that will do the same exact thing. But is it more efficient to do 5 box collider over 1 mesh collider? Is that why they did it like that? Oh no, you know what? It's because if it's convex, it does this thing. It creates like a box around it. So you can't actually like step in it. Yeah. I think they did it so that you could step in the box. Non-convex is fine? Does it go through the ground? Because if it just provides contacts? Yeah. Oh wait, you know what? It's a static function. It's a static prop right now, which is not what we want. Yeah, see? That's the problem. I may be resolving it the wrong way, but I feel like if it's not convex, it doesn't somehow doesn't create the collider, and it just... That sounds like the stupidest question I've ever asked, though. And then when it's convex, it works. But if I turn it off, it goes to the ground. Non-convex mesh collider with non-kinematic rigid body is no longer supported since Unity 5. And with Unity 2022, that's like a lot of versions. Alright, you know what? I'm not gonna mess with their beautiful colliders. We will get worried about performance when we get worried about performance. Problem for tomorrow. Okay. Non-convex, which could... Oh, I forgot to place them all as convex. That's where the error is from. And I also forgot to remove all those box colliders from these. Remove component. Nope. Remove. Remove. And we wanted convex, provide contact, and non-static. Okay. Now let's see if I can properly pick up a bunch of other stuff. I'm hoping I can. And there's no more issues. I can pick that up. And I forgot another thing. I forgot to make them all on the prop layer. But now it should work. I think I forgot something to do. The question is what? Go in here, go back in registration. Doesn't matter, that's Text Mesh Pro. Can pick that one up, and then this little guy. Why here? Do I not enter the trigger? Oh, it's at max capacity. You know what? I think I may be. Hoping it's that and not... Okay. Wait. There we go. Okay, so we see it. And then we pick up the object, but it's null because it's a grabbable object. And I think I added the wrong one in. I think I added a portable object in it. Doing all that work on the wrong components, it's always fun. But if I remove that, We're going to remove that portable object, and we're going to add the grabbable nope, not the join, the grabbable object. All right. And max capacity, these are all 1, 1, 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this guy is, we're also going to just make it a 1. So all pots are a mass of 1. It's easy to check. We have 6 total pots, so just for testing it, in here max carrying capacity is 100. I'm gonna make it 5, and I'm gonna make it that we get encumbered when we reach the 0.8 threshold, 80% of our carrying capacity, pretty much. And before I forget to press, keep forgetting to change this drop force range. Let's just test this out. And pick it up. Can't pick that up. You cannot pick that one up. Why can't you pick that one up? Which one is this? This little guy here. Oh, dungeon 7. There's more pots. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Just give me. I'm gonna do it in here instead. It's gonna be annoying otherwise. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Well, we're just gonna add a grabbable object. And we're gonna make them prop, non-static. This is my second favorite music from Wild Aaron's Hut. It's the Irish Jig. Alright, we can pick stuff now. It's a little hard to control on the keyboard though, honestly. But so we're displaying 3 items only in this string. We're gonna display a little bit more just for the sake of having more visibility. Here, that's our 5 items, and when we drop them, they kind of fall flat on our heads because we forgot to change the force range. I think we had between 4 and 8, right? That was felt good. Between 4 and 6, because we don't want something that just throw it with almost as much force as this thing. Granted, we might throw the force vector here to 15. Alright, and then you just throw it out. Can you pick them back up? Please? You cannot. It doesn't detect it as a grabbable thing. So let's go back to our program here, figure out why. Oh, yep, I'm at max capacity because our current capacity is going to be something like Oh, you know what? I didn't make it so that you could. So it only adds right now to the capacity when you hear. Wait, what does it do? It. Oh, in the pickup one. On the pickup one. There, current capacity plus equal the mass of the rigid body. We do want to change that and put also this in the throw grabbable. Every time we throw an object, we're going to remove the current capacity by the object to throw. It's mass. The mass of the object to throw. I'm not a Unity expert, but it feels like I'm doing something wrong because waiting for it to reload the domain every single time is extremely frustrating. And also the game crash, the Unity app crashes like 20% of the time when it reloads the domain on. I'm on Mac, and I'm using the metal, like the M1 stuff. Or like the Mac chip, the version of the Unity app that's for the metal infrastructure for Mac, and it is not optimized for it right now. I would not recommend it. What were we looking for? What was I looking for? The domain reload stuff. Is that in the player? No. That's in the editor. If I deactivate the domain reload when entering play mode, domain reload reinitiates game completely, making load behavior very close to the player. Okay. It doesn't reload the static function, the static variables, right? Like the stuff that's in. I have one of them. I have one of them and I forgot where it is. A static boolean. I think it's in the grabbable joint. Yeah, if you need editor, it's joint taken. Resets that. Subsystem registration, all that stuff. So I think that will make it a little bit more efficient. So that I don't have to wait every single time I want to open the app. And I'm also going to remove this drop range stuff. That was kind of not great. We want it to be random. Let's make it random. So we pick it up and then we throw them. And is it me or do they not have as great physics? But yeah, it looks like we can correctly fix our, like if I drop 2 of them, I can then pick 2 more and then drop them again and then pick another 2. All right. The only issue though is that we wanted to feel a little bit more random than what we've got. And also the other thing we want is that when we encumbered, which I didn't put in here, but make the encumbered speed work. When we encumbered, right now it doesn't change the speed at which we go, but we kind of do. We do want to. So if it's carrying objects, which one is that? M object held not equal to null. Okay, so if it is carrying an object, we don't want to remove that one, because when we do the fifth bullet point here, an object that we pull, we're still going to be holding a join and pulling a join. So the object held is going to be used somewhere later. But if it's carrying object by the carrying speed modifier, and then we'll do another one. As if is encumbered by encumbered speed modifier. Just to have slightly more control over how the stuff feels. I'm gonna just put that all in this one and call it the grab and throw section. Oh. I think I have dry eye today or something. It's been burning. Anyway, the hand anchor encumbered speed, then the max carry capacity. We're gonna put it up here. This we're gonna put it up there. We're gonna put a space so that it looks pretty, and we're gonna put a space up here so that it looks pretty. The throw vector, the throw force, and then the drop range, we're gonna put it down there. So now it's a little bit more organized in my inspector. Oh, it's not gonna... If I forget half the stuff to do, it's not gonna compile. Alright, so is encumbered is gonna have to return something. So current capacity, I actually don't need to have that complicated, man. So if the current capacity is greater or equal to M carry capacity times encumbered modifier, encumbered threshold, like that. Also, is there a way to make a better inspector so that the word doesn't spill over on the left here? It's little things that bother me sometimes. Encumbered speed modifier, we're gonna make it, we're gonna divide your speed by 2. We're gonna divide your speed by 3 here and divide your speed by 6 when you're dragging something. Time to tuck away, stat. Good. The throw force, the throw vector, that's an issue for some other time. And the grab and throw. So we are moving at the correct speed now. Now we're moving at a reduced speed, I think. Which, by the way, you feel it because it gets a little sluggish in the control. Like if you raise it to like 10, it gets a little hard to move around. Also, it moves, it still runs. Which is slightly bothering me. the velocity is 3. And it keeps rising up. There's a little issue here. It should be between 0 and 1. The issue is in the calculate movement function, the magnitude of a velocity between x and y. I thought the magnitude was always between 0 and 1, no? Obviously not. It returns the length of the vector. Obviously it isn't. So the question is, I could normalize it and then make the magnitude between 0 and 1, but would that work? Yeah, it's just not normalized to magnitude. Yeah. That's just gonna end up putting something between 0 and 1. Yeah, look at that. It's 1 when we run. Now let me pick up some stuff. Oh, but look at this. It just becomes 1 super fast. It's just like 1 to 0, back to 1, back to 0. It just doesn't work at all. So we're just gonna make the magnitude and we're just gonna make that velocity speed thing. Can this be 2? Yeah, it can. Alright, so we're just gonna make it, when do we run? We run when we are getting close to... Let's walk till 1 and start running when we reach 1. That's what we're gonna do. When we reach 1, we're gonna run. Other than that, we're just gonna walk, and we're just not gonna do anything if we move by 0.25. We're just gonna act like we're stopping, and I think it's gonna work. Okay. And then to test, we're gonna go here, and we are going to make the speed 5. It's still running. And the reason is because we are going all the way up to 4. Wow. Alright, this isn't a problem for right now. Don't know why I'm going into this right now. It should be between 0 and 1. Between 0 and 1, yeah. Let's just go back to what we had, which was 0.25 and 0.5, I think. Or 1, no, 0.75, I think it was. Yep. Looks like that. Okay. And I will take another stab at this later. So if we're encumbered, the acceleration is blah blah, or is at max capacity. If we're carrying an object at max capacity, we're gonna act like we're carrying a lot of stuff, otherwise we're gonna be encumbered only. It's gonna make us move a little slower. I think also kind of want to change the max acceleration, I feel like. Because right now the max acceleration goes to 2000. No, 2000. Where is it used? It's in the goal velocity used. Need the acceleration. Yeah, but it's just we end up still clamping this out, so it doesn't really matter. Just feels a little sluggish, but again, problem for another day. The real problem that we have right now, and that might also be a problem for another day, so that we can do a throw function basically. But the problem that we have is that it kind of always gets out in front of you. So now I'm carrying a lot of objects, which kind of doesn't feel that great. I might remove that altogether. No, okay, it works. It's not always the same, but it's just random, so what can you do? Oh, we lost the bucket. We lost the pot. All right. You know, I think it needs to be not as random in the y-axis, so that it doesn't just falls and stays on your head, kind of like twitching. So on here, I'm just gonna make it 1, so that it always goes kind of flying up into a weird direction. Yeah, this works a little better, I think. It ends up, it's not drastic, but it ends up not having any objects that are like kind of just hovering over your head for a little bit while you're not standing, since they get a little force applied to them, and when they land, if they're still over your head, they'll just go over you. And if you're walking around, they're also just gonna kind of. But yeah, the goal is like, all right, you've got your loot, you've got all that, you know, all those spots, and then when you're being chased by someone that you wanna, these props I'm gonna have to fix too. When you get chased by a monster, you wanna run faster, you're gonna have to drop your loot to be able to escape them. That's the general idea behind a simple mechanic like that. Yeah, I'm starting to understand, Casey, why you like those word map songs. I mean, I understand why you like them, but it is pretty catchy. I think Alan did a great job on those two. And that's how you know it's a good song. When you hear it a lot and you don't get tired of it. When he always put out like great content, but you know, like, I'm not a music person, so it was a little hard to give him feedback, but he like, some of the feedback that he was getting was just like, it's not quite there yet, and I could only know when it was there when I was starting bopping my head when I was listening to his samples. when I was starting to like do a little dance, I was like, alright, we're getting there. This is getting the right vibe. And then once he understood the vibe we were going for, he just cranked them out. Honestly, impressively fast. Sometimes he was cranking them out faster than I could implement them. Okay, the other thing we want to do now, we're gonna judge this as semi-done because we are going to have feedback from the second member of the design team, which is Solzin Homb. I butchered his username, but he has he always has some good feedback that makes me have to get back into a feature. So it's never really done until it's shipped. And even then it's not done. It's just shipped. Now we're gonna go to the holding button. The throw and holding the button. The way I did it in... so the way I did it for Wild Year and Sot was to have kind of actions linked to specific buttons to the input system, but because when I started working on Wild Year and Sot, this whole thing wasn't totally finished. I ended up making my own like tracking for figuring out what the interaction is if we're holding it and stuff, because there was some weird bugs in that one that I couldn't really figure out how to bypass, and the best way I had it was to do here an interaction that is a press interaction where it's gonna do press and release. So the effect that this has is that it's going to go here and it's going to call the action, I think 3 times, when the value is pressed, when it's released, and twice. Wait, let's just play it. I'm not gonna try to pretend like I know what's gonna happen here. So when the action is pressed and released... Oh, wrong button, my bad. So true, false, true, false, true, false. It's, yeah, that's just... And to the opposite of this, if we were to do a just no interaction like this, I think what would happen is that it would just... Oh wait, I have to reload it, I think. Yeah, in that case, it only calls it, when you press the function. So it's always true. And then if we do a hold interaction, it's going to call it when you press, and it's going to call it when you hold, like 0.5. So when you press, and then when you hold it for like a little bit of time, it's also going to call it. When you press, it becomes true. Oh, wait. No. So now it only calls it when it holds, because obviously it's a hold interaction. What if I do a press, release, a press only, and then a hold interaction, maybe? True? Alright. So we're going to just remove that stuff, and then here we're just going to keep it as a press and release. Now that I showed how it's going to work. Press and release, it's going to call this 2 times. It's going to call it when the value is pressed, and it's going to call it when the value is not pressed. So this behavior is going to change a little bit. Here we were stopping when the value was pressed. But that's not going to be happening like that anymore. Instead, what we're going to do is that we want to, when we press it, we're going to register that we have a press. And then we're going to start a timer. And when we release it, we're going to check what that timer is, pretty much, like how long it's been since we pressed and released the button, and based on that we're gonna figure out if we need to throw it or just drop it, is essentially the gist of it. So, if value is pressed, we're just going to do a, in here, in private current capacity. We're also going to do private float. The time when the throw button was pressed, we're going to track that. We're going to say equal time dot time, and then we're going to return. That's one. If the value is not pressed, it's going to continue. But so if the value is not pressed, we're going to check if we have any item, in. So if the items picked up is, wait, we don't care if it's null. Then we're going to try to figure out if we're facing a wall or not. If we're facing a wall, we're not going to want to do anything. And if we're not facing a wall, we're going to try to dequeue. This is going to be like kind of like our throw action. And we're going to want to do something different after that. So like if hit a wall, how am I going to tackle this? We have a throw action that has to be done, so we're going to hold something and we're going to drop it when we hold for less than a certain amount. So like so this is, I'm going to do it as like I think about it, and then we'll put it back together, I think. So if the current time is greater or equal to the throw button start time plus the hold, I could also just link it to different stuff and have it an on throw and an on drop. That might honestly be an easier, simpler solution to do it. And that way it might even allow player to set it up with two different people. It might let the player set up two different buttons in order to, like if they want to drop with X and throw with Y, why not? It will allow it to do like that. And in any case, rebinding controls is always hard. So like what's one more action, right? Let's just try it like that. Let's just do this. We're gonna remove this in here. We're gonna make it an on drop. On drop, input value, blah blah blah. It's gonna do this thing. But how am I going to compete between the moment it's press and release and you dequeue it and the moment it's... Like, what if you press the button, drops it, and then you hold it, you know? So I think on this we're going to want to have a release only, but then it's going to also call it when you release it, which is a problem. So we're still going to make the throw, we're going to call it drop. On drop, when the value is pressed, we're still going to do that. If the value is pressed, we track it, and if, you know, else if the, you know, the time, the current time is greater or equal to the throw button plus the throw threshold, like throw hold time, whatever. Then we're gonna just return, so that we only do it when we haven't held the button for some time, basically. So that the press and the release are close enough to it that we're not considered holding. If we're considered holding, we're gonna move to another action. But I feel like it should be the same. Am I completely getting it for myself right now? Yeah, I am. So I went back on what I said. I'm gonna keep calling it throw. And in here, when we press the button, we're tracking the current time, and then we stop there. Then when we release the button, it will not go through this. It will check if we're in front of a wall. If we're in front of a wall, it's gonna just stop there because we don't want to. That's what we did on the last stream. We kept on. If we were facing, like, had our nose in the wall when we were throwing an object, it would end up kind of like throwing it back. However, now that we have changed the way we're doing it, now that the item we throw is always coming from the top of our head, I don't think we need that anymore. I think we might want to do that when we're throwing only. So I'm just going to comment this out. I don't think we want to have kind of like raycast. Like, what if you spam the button, you know? Not great. To have a raycast every time you spam a button, that's just not something you want to do or want to have. So we save the assets. It's a press and release. The press point is 0.5. Okay, and then we pick it up and we make sure that nothing broke in our time picking things up. Looks like it did, because our throw hold stuff is 0.5 when it should be, is 0 when it should be like 0.5, so that when you throw it, it's good, but when you hold it, it doesn't do anything, because when you hold it, you're gonna want to have to see this you know, arrow coming up, and you're gonna want to push it forward. I think that's the goal. So right before we go, let me test my theory that now that we put the stuff in front of the wall, it still works when we drop an item while hugging a wall. Am I thinking it's probably gonna like bump behind, drop in front, something like that? Oh, I forgot to pick up a pot. So this was the hole I kept on, you know, you're facing it. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that was kind of what I expected it to happen. It kind of just, this first one I think was going to go forward, but instead it kind of just hit the wall, fell on the head, and then went backward, which is good. That's kind of like, you know, it feels fine. It's not buggy, you don't lose it. That works fine. So now trying to think a little bit, but now basically what we want is to do the throw function. So in here it's gonna be like, all right, now are you in front of a wall? We're gonna do a ray cast. Are you in front of a wall? Blah blah blah. If you're not in front of a wall, it's gonna allow you to throw it, and to throw it, it's going to be a relatively simple-ish thing, where it's going to be instead of a throw force, you know, like that, we're gonna have a throw force range. Okay, the throw force range is gonna be, you know, real throw force. For now, it's gonna be throw force range 0, doesn't matter. And then it's gonna throw, it's gonna do throw grabbable, drop top item, drop top item. It's gonna grab this, it's gonna do it like that. Then it's gonna throw grabbable with this force in here, and the direction, throw direction, is going to be pretty like transform dot forward plus m dot throw vector. This is going to give us the forward vector plus a slight inclination forward, so that we don't like throw straight or something like that. We kind of just want to chuck it forward. Then we do the throw direction in here, the real throw force in here. The position is going to be the hand anchor position without the vector 3 up in here, and we're going to conserve velocity. And that should give us a pretty easy throw function. Then we'll have to consider how we do the visuals, but honestly, that might not be a problem for today. We'll figure it out when we get to it. So when you drop it, oh, you know what? I forgot to do here it's 0.5. I'm not breaking this a third time. And here we want to go between like an 8 and a 12, I think. So the lowest amount of force you're going to be able to throw it at is going to be like a force of 8, which doesn't mean much to you guys right now, but if you drop it, it does a drop, and if you hold it and release it, it does a throw forward with force 8. Now, what we want is whoa, something exploded. Assertion failed. Is finite distance along view. What even happened here? Skipped updating the transform because its components are infinite. Could you have applied infinite forces, acceleration, or set huge velocity? I could have. Obviously did. The reason is where? yeah. 8 of power was too much, definitely. We held that and it just chucked it so far it broke Unity. This is game dev. This is fun. yeah. There's a. It makes me think of a story that Tiago told me one day in the previews. I'm gonna steal that story. I'm not gonna steal it, but I'm gonna tell it for him. The studio he was working at previously was called Pushing Box because the engineers there spent like a long time figuring out how to push a box. And that's like a real game dev story. Car physics, I can't even imagine how hard that must be to make it feel right. I'm feeling we're joking saying we should rename Bontemps Games into dragging objects because of that story. Just because we spent like 2 weeks figuring out how to drag objects, just to realize it's like not actually that fun to drag objects around. So that's I still don't know what happened over there. What's my velocity? Is it because I'm not encumbered? Like, not carrying anything. I'm not. Oh, it might be in here because is at max capacity. Carrying speed modifier, but the carrying speed modifier is 6, so it shouldn't. You know what? We're just gonna. Sometimes you gotta act like you didn't see the bug happen. I did not see this bug happen, and we're just gonna continue pretending like it's all fine. We're just gonna give it one more test. Okay. You see? Bug never happened. We're all good. No bugs, no problem. Then what we want to do is we've got our time. We got our hold time. We got our button press, all that stuff. We're gonna do hold time is going to be the time we took, you know, like when we started the button press, and we're gonna subtract that from the current time. That's gonna give us how long we pressed that button for. So for our hold time, that's the button we have, the press we have, and then we're gonna scale this between this force range value 0 and force range value 1. And to do that, it's going to be math that I have not figured out yet. Hi, Deep Toot. I'd make a horrible president. I'll just say it out there. So like, let's do some research. Let me also restart the music. Also, guys, if you have any music suggestions, feel free to give them to me. It might get a little repetitive if we loop the same songs over and over and over again. But if you don't have any, let's go for another round of this thing. Anyway, so back to my research, right? So we want a function. We want something to scale this value in between this range. So what's the max hold time that we want to have? Like if you hold it for a second, basically if you hold it for a second, that's what we want to do. We're gonna write a function here to drop top item. We drop top item, otherwise. Oh, you know what? We're gonna want to return here. That's where we're having issues. Otherwise, we're gonna drop and throw the item. Can I do return this? Nope. That was a dumb thing to do. Ask. And I'm also gonna not do it like that because that's too many functions and getting annoyed. No, you know what? We're just gonna leave it here. Alright. Try the queue, drop top item. Throw. We're gonna do a throw objects. Okay. And so in here we're gonna get a this is my ragdoll utils stuff. I'm gonna rename it to just call it the Bontemps utils, just so I don't have to spend my time renaming stuff. Also, why is it still reloading a domain even though I unchecked the reload domain thing? Is the question that I keep asking myself every time I uncheck this thing, because now it might have crashed. Oh, we're back. Okay. Nope, we're not. Let's just go on this and figure it out. Let's save it. So public static float Scale. This is a horrible name for a function, but let's continue. Float. This is the range of values. Then we're gonna have a float hold time. Then here we're gonna have float hold time and float max hold, like that. Max hold time, because I like my names. Then we're gonna have a return, you know, scaled value. Here we're gonna do a float scaled value equals 0 for now. Then what we want is that if the hold time is greater, so if hold time is greater than max hold time, greater or equal, we're gonna just do a return range of values 1. Otherwise, we're gonna want to scale it properly. Otherwise, we're going to do the difference float, the difference between the max and the, you know, min-max difference is going to be range of values 0, range of values 1 minus range of values 0. Then we're going to do float, you know, scaled hold, which is going to be the hold time over the max hold time. That's going to give us kind of like how much of a percentage are we to the max hold time. Okay, knowing that if the hold time is greater, so it's going to be between 0 and 1, or like between 0.000000001 and 1, since if this is greater or equal, we're going to just return this range, and we're not even going to do this. So if, alright, then the scaled value, then we're going to, I don't really need to do this, then we're going to return the range of values 0 plus the min-max difference times the scaled hold. And that's scale value based on hold time. Well, that's a long name, based on hold. That's a long name, but it's self-explanatory. Once we're here, the hold time is going to become the Bontemps utils dot scale value based on hold time. The range of value is throw force range. The hold time is this, and the max hold time is going to be a new variable that we're going to set here, max throw hold time, and we're going to set it to a 1 probably. That sounds like a we'll change it if we have to, but max hold time, like, yeah, that means it's going to scale. Basically, that means 0.5 will return 8, and anything above 1 second of hold will return like 10 or like 12 or like whatever the second range is. And I'm not sure. So hold time, real force is going to be no, that's not the whole time. That's the scale. That's the real throw force. Then we don't need this. That should work. Got a direction and we got a scale time. So if I hold very far, and we're gonna first, so the way we're gonna test it is we're gonna set a very strong strength in the the max strength is going to be very strong, so that we can, you know, test to make sure that if we hold it longer, it's visibly going to be stronger than 8. So let's do 8 and 16. And then the whole time that's down here, we're going to change it afterwards. So we grab something, we drop it. Still works. We grab it again, then we hold and we release after more than 1 second, so it should be now. And that's 16. Because I don't know if you realize, I don't know if you remember, the 8 sounded more like, no, that's still a drop. Nope, still a drop. Hi. Bonsoir, métal et guitare. I also speak a little French if you want. I mean, a lot French. But thank you for playing it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. This one might be a little less chill, but still lighthearted and the same kind of tone as the dad jokes we put in while they're inside. Is it me, or does it feel like this whole time it's a little too short? I feel like we kind of maybe want to hold it for more than a second. Maybe like if we go up to 3 seconds. So we've got 1 Mississippi, okay. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. All right. Double thumbs up. Now to find values. I'll continue in English for the non-French speaker, but feel free. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. We'll go back to 15 on here. We'll go back to 12 on this. 12 sounds like a good plan. It's not too strong, but it's a little stronger. Let's make it 14. And in here, 3 Mississippi, 1 second, 2 second. Technically, let's make it 3. 3 sounded, you know, a little, you know, give you time, but we'll fix that when other people play. Because that's one thing I learned while working on Wild Earns Hot. And it's that, like, what feels natural to me is not natural for most of the people. So we got this done. We got this done. And now I kind of got this done, but to review. Just because it feels a little sluggish when we do it. So we'll get back to that. We've got this done based on the strength of this. It's throwing that. And the last thing we want is to be able to move an object around a joint. This is going to be a productive stream if we can do all 4 of that. I'm telling you. Doing that second part is a little bit more complicated. The reason is that when you start having physics to interact with a bunch of other stuff, it becomes a little bit more complicated than just throwing objects. and we're going back to the problem that I've been trying to tackle for quite a long time, unsuccessfully, I might add. So, how are we gonna do? Let's just first off set up something that might work with the assets that we have. Do we have a door? We have a door over there. What kind of door is that? A dead end door. No, it's a normal door. Big door. There we go. That's a big door. How are we doing with our big door? In here, we've got a large, and we've got a gateway, large door, an arch, a column, the column. Is it that? Is it me or this is like, yeah, this is kind of a crappy. Is it a double door or is that a single door that swings over one hinge? It looks like a double door to me that you swing open like this, which doesn't really work for what we are doing. So, let's not do that. Do we have any doors in our project is the question, but I don't think we do. We got a trap door. What does that do? Okay. Okay, we could use that. There's a joint here. Could be useful. First off, we're gonna save our work. So, pick up object plus drop with random force plus throw with force scaled over hold time. This is what we did so far, and honestly, it's a good step. I'm also a little bit, happy because so when I do game design, I like to have like one core mechanic that is flowing around this stuff that lets like you've got one strong pillar and then you can have all the other stuff that revolve around it. Like for Wild Year Inside, our strong pillar was the blacksmith, like the crafting with the fourth step, and it took us about, I would say, 2 years to get that kind of good and set up correctly. We went through different process. I might actually show you so to prove my point, but I'm going a little bit on a tangent, so stop me if that's boring and we want to return to the straight up game dev. It might bring Grain Boots or Casey back a few years, but a few years. So the project took 4 years, and it took us about 2 to figure out where the game was going. The first iteration of the game, you had a shop, just a shop that you were managing, like Moonlighter, where you had stalls, you had like a counter that you could jump over, you had all that stuff. So we had our core mechanic, which was our crafting, blacksmithing mechanic as the core. This is some sneak peek here. This is behind the scene. Like, I don't even think our publisher saw this project. Yeah, it's so this is the very first world of Wild Year Inside that we did, and it's gonna bring Casey back because I think he designed a lot of those items, or like concept art. But I think he did a lot. He did the windmill. So the original concept of Wild Year Inside was that you just had one town that was going from kind of like the forest area here, which was dark and kind of like, I don't know, I wonder if it still runs. I haven't pressed play on this project in two years, I think. But you had, there it is, my new shop. Let's go in and get that forge started. So you had, wow, you didn't have a run, you didn't have a walk, you had nothing. But you had your shop, this was the blacksmith shop. And you were to go, so you would go from a forest to a windmill to the lower end of the street, like kind of like the outskirt of the street, to like the central place of the street, which was where you could find like life, where like citizens would go and all that stuff. Then you would have the merchant sector, which is the one we're going through, so like the miner, which I think you'll remember, like this building we redid a little bit and then we transformed it into the new mining gatherer hut, building that we have. You can see some of the early kind of prototype. And so this would be the center of like the town, where you would have people coming in, chilling out. You know, you see those guys walking somehow. Nice. It's which platform did you play it on? The Volt takes a long time to do, I have to say. And that was the tavern. Anyway, I'm listening, but you had, you know, you had like the where the citizens were living, then where you had the party of the village. Pretty much, and then you had the markets, where you had like the hunter's hut, the miner's hut, the lumberjack hut, the blacksmithing hut, and all that stuff. And we never got to this part, but then you were supposed to have a gate, and then the rich section of the village, where you had the banks, the castle, all that stuff. And then you would go further out and you would have the sea, where you could take a boat and you could get out, or like you could fish. So it was more of there was no world map. It was just this thing where you would have everything on the flat plane. And one of the first problems that you realize when you have this project is that it gets a little boring pretty fast. Like, you just hold one button, and even if we added a run, it would just change from the core like action that you would do every time would be holding two buttons to go move somewhere, which is not very fun. So that's why we kind of split it apart, destroyed that scene into multiple different scenes with the world map in the middle, or the overworld in the middle, that you could have more control over, and you could change the way you were playing it, and it wasn't just holding a button. Then you entered your shop. How do you enter your shop? I forgot. F? No. E? Space? Oh, up. And in your shop, you still had the same kind of, you had the melt, and you had to assemble stuff. How does the assembly work? Oh yeah, that's how it works. So like the way the assembly used to work was that you would have to place kind of like items. Oof. I completely forgot every button. That takes me so far back, so back. Sorry. You had to kind of like move stuff in here to select your handle material, your axe material, and it was more of a, you know, like you had your schematic. It wasn't as, you know, assembling all that stuff. And then once you were doing this step of the process, you could go here. You could jump over the counter, which I love this animation, and then you could put some items in this shop. So like, go in your shop and craft a sword blade. So you put this in, I have to say, this project, there is a few things in here that makes me like a little hurt that we didn't put it in the final game, because there was some badass stuff. I think like this thing where you had like which part of the building of the kind of like piece you could forge, I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure, like you can do a forge, you can do a blade, you can do the guard, the pickaxe. Like this is how you were supposed to figure out how you can do things. Yeah, it was so cool. I love this little smelted thing. So you would melt your thing, right? We want to do a forge. We want to do a sword blade, so we'll do the sword blade here. How do you start it? Oh, you hold it to start. Puts the metal in, backs you up, and then you had to kind of push it up and finish into here. Then it would go in, it would pick up the material, and then it would kind of keep you stuck in this same, like now, like you had to finish the process, which was another problem and reason why we went towards the final version of the crafting. But you would do this, and then you would figure out, all right, now those are the options of stuff I can forge. Let me find the sword blade here. I'm gonna hold it still. And the anvil minigame was a lot simpler. 3 and alright. Yeah. Then you would have this, then you would bring it to the grindstone, and you would still like you would try to hold it in the right one, and then you keep it here, and then you would bring it back to the heat treat, and you would bring it back and you would heat treat it. So for like, oh, fuck. You would heat treat it, you would put it in the thing, and then it would pop up with your sword and with your score of how good you were on everything, which would give a score to the final item. And then you had this in, and this was kind of like how we had everything set up. Like the items weren't on slots, they were on grids. You had to organize your inventory a little bit better. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff in here I feel like was awesome, but it's just couldn't work out in the game we were making. But now you realize, all right, now you need to make the sword guard. So you go in there, you do the guard, you put it in, and this is where I think you kind of like will start getting why we moved away from here. It's like it's fun when you do it once, but when you have to do it 3 times for one item, it feels like a blacksmithing game, but it's just not. It's just like it's a little boring. Like you bring it here, then you bring it over here. You do this thing. You hold. All right, you crap it, and then you go back to the heat treat. And then me not having it played. Oh, I forgot that's how you played it. Wow, okay. So you weren't supposed to, back then, you were supposed to like, and you see in the thing we had so that you could track kind of like which part of that was. Destroy F key. Yeah, so actually I'm not doing it correctly. I think the way it's supposed to work is the longer you press, the more, like now this is 1 press, 2 press, 3 press, and then I hold it in here. I do think the more blacksmith sim gameplay was cool here, but yeah, doing it like 10 times in a row is just tedious. I really like the final gameplay. Yeah, just doing it 10 times in a row, like I haven't made one sword, which that's probably how, you know, blacksmith actually work, where taking a sword takes multiple days, but that's, you know, just tedious, like you said. And it's it ends up making the mini games themselves very repetitive because you have to do all 4 of them for every single item. So now, trying not to destroy my F key while I show you an old project. Alright. I really like this animation too of the smoke popping out and like swallowing the bucket. And then you would place it in your thing. So then you had all 3 parts and you could go on your assembly table, and in here you could select your sword, and then you could put this in, this in, this in, and then you could assemble it. And then you had a sword that had everything based on like, you know, what all 3 parts had. Tomorrow is opening day, I better get ready. And then I have to say, there was another cool thing that we did. Let me try to change the time. Sky background. Sky. Sun and moon, sky, ambient light. Let's what changes this ambient light thing? Intensity, sky. I think it's the sky script. But I don't know if you see it. Obviously not, because it's really dark. Maybe I'll add another light to it. Lights, 2D point light. And we're gonna make it on just all, just for the sake of it. This takes me back like a long time. Where's our light? Where's our light? Here's our light. So one of the things we did is like, now that I made a sword, since you know the core of it is that you are a blacksmith and you have a shop and you have people coming in your shop and all that stuff, is that everything that it's in here, every item would get displayed on its own little stand here. So you could display up to like 9 or 1. I think it was 3 per, 1 or 2 per. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you had some at the top too, I think. But you could display the items you were making, and then you would go and all that stuff. It was a cool concept, but it just was a little bit tedious. And finding the door, God, that was hard. We had a cave system too, which was pretty cool. How did I get to it easily? So the cave system, which was here. Wow. There we go. This was a little guy. We still had our. There's some stuff in here. Right. And then you would have your pickaxe. And you would have kind of like a cave system that lets you. It was supposed to be a cave system where you could get yourself a little bit lost in it. So it was randomly generated, and then you could mine this stuff if you had a pickaxe. I need a pickaxe to mine this. But I don't have a pickaxe right now. Anyway. That was the core of the game. It was everything was a little tedious. It was the blacksmith simulation was fun, but it was tedious. Moving wasn't it was just tedious. The cave was interesting because you could get yourself lost, but it was tedious because every time you would want to get out of that cave, it was just hair pulling. So we ended up with something totally different. We ended up splitting this world into the whole map that you've seen. But yeah, that was Wild Year Inside. First project. And that takes me back. This was before it was even called It was called Blacksmith Project. It's before we even found a name for it. It also wasn't as chill as what you might have played with Wild Year's Hut. It was just... it was like, you know... There was more concept to it, but the demo was like you would play the demo 10 minutes and you'd be like, I'm done with it. So it obviously didn't go too far out. And then we had a better one. Then we had, you know, the project that you've played and that we all know, well, all on this stream knows. Wild Year's Hut. But you can see how it was still, you still had like one, to go back to my point, you still had one core pillar mechanic that we're trying to make it as fun and as close to the blacksmith as possible, and then everything else was built around it. And that's kind of the same thing with Loot Gambit, but instead of, by the way, Loot Gambit is the name of the project. Not going to be named like, it's probably not going to be named like this. But in here, the core mechanic is like you navigating a dungeon. So we tried dragging stuff so that you could move props around, so that you could make your own traps and stuff, but it wasn't fun. And now we have kind of like a throw mechanic so that you can interact with your environment and throw stuff, which is still not there, but already testing it right now, I feel more engaged picking up and throwing stuff. Let me throw it. Thank you. Picking up and throwing stuff than dragging things. It's just feels more fun. That's it. That was a long tangent. Long tangent. But yeah, back to our stuff. We had a trapdoor that we wanted to move around something. This is my test scene. We're gonna destroy that barrel. Then we're gonna bring out door stuff. We're gonna bring a large trapdoor. I think this is what we want, just a trapdoor. We don't really want this hole and this thing here. So let's just take this, delete that, and paste this here. And in here we have our trapdoor and our hinge. Okay. So, the way this works, if we look at it like that, actually we're gonna rotate it a little bit on the z-axis, the x-axis to 90 degrees, actually negative 90, and we're gonna put it at 0, 0, 1. Alright, here we are. This is a door. What we want to do with this door is we want to allow the player to be able to grab it and rotate it around these three joints. It's going to be only one joint for the sake of this. So I think what we first do is we have a hinge joint in here. Let's figure out how this works. So the hinge joint is on the, is it on the x-axis? No, it's on the z-axis. Yep, it's on the z-axis. So our hinge is gonna be here. It's gonna rotate like that, exactly. Look at this. Perfect. And now I don't know where we have to do next. So how does a hinge joint work? Hinge joint Unity tutorial. Actually, let me do another one. Hinge joint Unity tutorial. So
hello everybody, welcome back. Sorry.
Talk about the hinge joint. Let me pause the music and let's listen to this guy's voice.
Here, I just added material. This is the regular default cube, and it just has a box collider. What we're gonna do to make this into a door is we're gonna add the hinge joint. So we go down to physics and then all the way to hinge joint. We'll click on that, and it will add a rigid body for us. And then we get this hinge joint component. Now to edit the hinge joint, as you can see, we can click on this thing right here and it'll show the angular limits. So right now it could actually spin all the way around. Before I show you that, I'm gonna keep going. For connected body, so let's say you have a door.
Our connected anchor is at the right spot, right? Let's remove that. Yeah, I think our connected anchor is at the right spot. Let me try, I just want to try how this like behaves when I go here. Here. If I tie this to this connected body. Oh, I'm the one moving, which is not what we want.
Frame around this door, you would add the connected rigid body to it, so it would automatically connect the anchor for you. There's also anchor. Anchor is the one that's on the door. So let me click this. So now I could actually move this anchor around depending on where I want it. I'm gonna leave it in the middle for now because that's about where I'm gonna want it. So somewhere around there. And then axis, that's this axis right here. So as you can see, it is.
Oh wait. The connected anchor is this. It's not this thing. It's this thing here. So like, where we want it. Why is it? Why is it acting so weird? The Y is going left and right. Is that all it's doing? Just left and right? And that's up and down. And that's what? Left and right, up and down, forward and backward. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. So our anchor is right here in the middle, which is good. It's good. I would say we want it, because it's not here. It's here. Which is good. It's good for now. Let's go back to our video.
Facing that way. Now, let's say I put this to 0, and then I put the next one to 1. Now, as you can see, it is pointing up, and that's pretty much the way we want it. So this circle right here is pretty much how the door will move. So it will move in this circular way. So sort of like this in the Y, as you can see. Now, let's say if we had this.
Do I have the entire door rotated? Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think because the door is rotated on the x-axis totally. So yeah. Yep. Good catch. Now the Y is gonna go up and down. The left is gonna go the X And yeah, good catch. All right. So let's just not rotate the door for now so that we're not totally confused with how we do things. And we'll do it like that. And then we'll be able to rotate the parent of the door without it causing issues once we have figured out the right values for everything.
Have this to 0. Now what it's going to do, it's going to actually move on the X. So like this, which unless you want it to rotate like that, that's not how the door should rotate. And then
no, it's not.
There's also the Z, which as you can see, it will rotate like this. So just depending on how you want the door to.
So my door technically rotates on the Z axis because we're facing up. But really, you know, it's gonna, once it faces the right way, it's gonna rotate the right axis. Okay. All right. That is 2, 3. All right, that is 2 variable out of all of these that we've now understood.
Rotate. So we wanted to rotate like a regular door, so we're gonna put 1 and 0. Always remember, all you need is a 1 and then 0 on both sides, unless you want a special angle, so it will rotate in that certain angle. We could also use a spring, so it can have like a spring effect. So first of all, let me show you what this does. So let me hit play, and I'm gonna click over here, and as you can see, it just spins around.
Oh, let's just try that.
And it will continue spinning because we don't have no limits on it.
All right, let's try that. Right? Do we have a rigid body on here? No. Did he connect a rigid body on his stuff?
And then all you need is a 1 angle. We could also use a spring, so that's a certain angle. We could also use a spring, so it can have like a spring effect. So first of all, let me show you what this does. So let me hit play, and I'm gonna click.
No, yeah, he doesn't have any connected body or anything to it. So since we don't have a collider on this thing, let me rotate it so that we can try to interact with it like that. I'm suspecting, I'm just a little bit worried about how it would. Oh, we already had a box collider. So that's not why it wasn't working. Oh, look at this. I think we have another one of our static issues over here. This we don't want. I don't know. I mean, I'm suspecting everything is static so that you can use it as props, but because we want to move them, we can't really do that. We also don't really want to use gravity on this door. Yeah, that's not what we wanted. It's using gravity. Does it at least rotate the way we want it to rotate? Is the question. Yeah, alright, it rotates around the right joint. Just... it looks good. You can use the door. You can go through it backward. Yeah, it looks good. Alright. Feature done. But I mean, it doesn't work. But the axis kinda, like, you can interact with it. Let me push you. Alright. Okay. But the question is, why does it react that way It's not using gravity. Is it because... No, it's not a connected anchor. I mean... I don't think it's because of this. Bounce, motor, spring. Okay, so you can use a motor or you can use a spring. Force, free spin. Oh boy. Oh, this is going to be fun. If I just remove this joint, do you think the door still slides down? No. So obviously it's a problem of the joint. See, now it's a good door. Flies off, but it's a good door. It's like an Alden door. Like a flying carpet. Anyway. Okay, so it's definitely because of the hinge joint. Is what this showed us. I bet if you move this, it's gonna end up making the door rotate around the center of it. Well, I guess not. Get proven wrong every day with this. Alright. Oh boy. You know what? Let's see if this guy brings it up.
As you can see, it just spins around and it will continue spinning.
If I remove this thing here, this collider, does it still dip so far down? Yeah. So, why? Oh, you know what? I think it's because they configure... No. Look at that. It was a configured anchor. So I don't know why, but the anchor is better when it's there. It's a better door. We've got a better door. Now we just want to make sure the limit. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Now it just can't rotate that much. The min limit and the max limit. Alright, now is the time where you go ask someone else.
Because we don't have no limits on it.
Yep, we don't either.
And then, so let's say we do add a limit. We're going to skip the motor real quick. We're going to add a limit, and the limit is going to be from 0 to 90. So as you can see, this little red bar.
Oh, okay. Now we use a limit. Okay, and now we want this limit to be not that. Like that, pretty much. Let's do it like that. Now I'm hoping if I go through this door, I get bounced back. Why? The door rotates. Let's just do like it does between 0 and 90, because I think. Yeah, all right. It rotates kind of further back than we want, because this is the limit. So if I extend it that way, it kind of shoots me out. Between 0 and 270. I know this isn't right, but I kind of want to see what it does. Oh. And can I move it all the way? Yeah, I can. Okay. So it's kind of technically like that. And it rotates inward, which is not what we want. So technically it would be between 90 and 180. No, between 90, 90. In that case, it rotates like that. So if we have it between 180 and 270, it's going to rotate like, nope, like, nope, 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 nope. I don't know what I did, but it is something wrong here. Yeah, I don't know what I did. Normal door behavior, yeah. Totally how you expect a door to behave. Just... People say normal physics are boring, so that's why games don't do normal physics. But this is not boring. This is just broken. I don't know. How do you figure out? Oh, this was the size. I'm stupid. This, the connected anchor. How do you kind of figure out where it's supposed to be if I don't want to auto configure it? Oh, that's how. Yep. All right, got it. What was it? It was negative 0.7, right? Or 0.7? And then it rotates that way. Ah, boy. Okay. Okay, you know what? I don't know what to do. Let me do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Here, this is where it's gonna start, and it will be able to open up all the way down this line, and it will end up right here. So let's see this in action real quick. So now, click over here, open the door. Now, as you can see, I cannot push the door.
Oh, you know what? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring this to the same mass, first off, as the player. And I think this is gonna cause it to have a more of a heavy, yeah. And it's gonna mean that, like, okay, nope, never mind.
Anymore, and it will just, go back.
One of the things that I'll have to figure out, I think at this point, I'm just gonna talk and this is gonna be problems for tomorrow. But one of the things I'm gonna have to figure out is why his door is so smooth when he runs into it, and why ours is like, looks like it's totally glitching out. Like we have the pretty much the same settings as him. So why do I need to have this just by itself to try it out? And then we'll just put it in an object at the right spot. Yeah, you see, like, why does ours just fritz up so much? I didn't know a door was that bouncy. Could it be because it should not have friction? And without friction, no. Imagine walking into a meeting on Monday morning and just running to the door and the door just gets out of the room. Oh, I muted him.
Say, see? Now, if we had a spring, we could add a spring, and then, so when it actually does, let's say, let me show you. It has like a spring effect to it. You have to make sure you check the use spring checkbox. And as you can see, it acts as a spring door. So when you open it, you can't open it from this side. But when you try to open it from this side, it will just spring back, so it'll shoot right back to its original position. And then there's use motor. So if you wanted to actually have something driving this by itself, so let's say we got target velocity of 20 and we got force of 1, and we hit play. Now as you can see, the door is actually positioned right. It's actually rotating by itself.
That's pretty cool.
Will just keep rotating by itself. You know, you can change the force to it and the target velocity. So just keep adding force, adding target velocity. It'll just keep spinning.
I'm definitely gonna put self-rotating doors in this game.
Now there for the limits, cover the limits. Now let's say you wanted to open all the way back. You could also do, you know, negative 90.
Oh my god.
And then you use the limits. So now it will be able to open all the way forward and all the way back.
I think that's what we needed. All the way forward and all the way back. Negative 90. I didn't know you could go negative in those slots. They need those doors to fix the people hopping the turnstile. Just it shoots you back out when you hop it. Okay, it goes up. That would be a great stop for the turnstile in the metro. You're right. There he goes up, and then you miss it, and when it goes the other way, it goes the other way. Progress. Let me see if we can bring that back into our other more complex door over there. We reactivate the mesh, and we're gonna go to negative 90 here. It would make me feel better if like the bounciness was 1 or bounce minimum velocity. What if I make 0 here? Okay. Okay. It's still doesn't really do what it should be doing, but you know, at least it's better. Open it from 90 degrees to negative 90, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense when you think about it. I just hadn't thought of it.
You know, something you were looking for, bounciness. If you wanted to have a bounciness when the door actually stops at its position. So let's put this back to 0 just to show you real quick. And let's add some bounciness. We're gonna add a lot of bounciness so you guys could, you know, see the effects. So now when I go to it, nav mesh. But yeah, as you can see, it keeps bouncing because I put it real high. But as you can see, it has a little bounce to it. It's not.
Why is his door so smooth and ours so messed up?
It bounces back a little bit. Yeah, it just bounces. Once it stops, it gives it a little bounce. Now there's also the bounce minimum velocity, so it will cause the joint. It different. So this is the minimum bounce, and this is the actual bounciness. So how much it will bounce, and this is the minimum amount it will bounce. If that makes sense.
It doesn't.
Contact distance. So here it says setting this low can cause shift.
It doesn't make sense to me. You know, why is it 0.2 if you don't want any bounce, but the minimum bounce velocity is 0.2? Wouldn't you want it to be 0? The minimum impact. Oh, okay. So it's like when you run into it with a velocity greater than this, it will force the joint to bounce. Okay, so I guess if you put it to infinity, does that mean the joint never bounces? Because it just doesn't have, you know, like, fuck. Let's just leave it to 0.2. There's nothing worse than an aha moment that proves to be not be a aha moment.
Setting high can reduce the rainbow runs the solver more often. So if you wanted to be more accurate, you could actually increase this contact distance, but it will perform a calculation, so it will run slower. So unless you have very few doors in the room, I suggest that you just keep it at 0. And then you could have a break force. So if there was something connected to your rigid body, or even like this, that it is not connected, you could actually add a break force, and when, let's say my character goes through it, it'll just break through. And now that we got that, click that, and as you can see, it just broke the door. And now it's on the ground. So if you want to add some break force to the doors, and if you don't want it to break at all, you just have to spell infinity. You could also give it a real high number, but it's best just to spell infinity. And then enable collision. So if you actually do have a connected a rigid body or articulation body, you could have them collide with each other, but you have to have enable collision on. There's also enable pre-processing, which says it helps stabilize impossible to fulfill. So if you disable it, it helps stabilize impossible to fulfill configurations. And then there's also mass scale. So this is the scale of the door. It would pretty much be like the same as this, the rigid body mass. And then there's also connected mass scale. So whatever it is connected to, you could actually manipulate their scale right here as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the hinge joint.
Alright, it's pretty much it for the hinge joint, but I still don't know where our problem is coming from. So, considering that we're approaching 7:30 and I'm getting hungry, I think I'm going to stop here. Let me pull out my other... There we go. Just chatting. Oh, this is a little broken. But, alright, I am going to stop here because I am totally stumped by it. But today was a pretty good day because we ended up having a throw mechanic that actually works and is, it needs to be, we need to have some visual added and some like quality of life stuff added, but it works. Like, it's not the greatest mechanic in the world, but it does it. And if we do 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, it's gonna go further. Okay, that makes it good. I'm also excited because the goal is to kind of have the controls of the characters be relatively simple, so that it's then the level design of the dungeon that makes it, interesting to go through it, to like, jump a door, enter a room, run from a monster, like throw a bucket into, something else to, attract the monster. All that stuff is going to come together once we have the controls of the characters that feel good. But it makes me excited to continue kind of working on it. And yeah, so kind of like, that was a good day. We did 3 out of our 4 to do. Good one. And I'm going to now send it to my partner in Game Dev Crime, and we'll see what he says. There's probably going to be some quality of life stuff. I'm going to start rambling, but like one of the things that I kind of is not really fun. It's not, nothing is fun right now. It's game dev. But something that's kind of, a little annoying is like if I'm in here, right? I'm in between those two, like they're both here. If I spam the button twice, I'm only going to be able to pick one up, and I'm going to have to enter and exit to pick the other one. And that's because in here, our current grabbable is being set from the grab node, and it's always like it sets the pickup targets, but it never, like what it should be doing when it sets the pickup target to null, and that's what we're going to do next, is it should check if we have kind of like a list of objects that are still in our range, so that when we set the pickup target to null, it's going to look into that list, see and figure out if we have other objects that we can pick up, and use that object as a new pickup object, so that once you pick up an object, it's automatically going to be setting the next object in range to be picked up, so that without you having to enter and exit, so that you can kind of like spam F and pick up a bunch of objects on the table, or like, stuff like that. So I'm gonna add it to the to-do, make it so that spamming the pickup button actually picks up the item, and that's gonna be for future Arnaud. Pick up the item instead of having to enter and exit the collider of the object every time. All right, so for tomorrow, no, I don't think I'm streaming tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday for sure, but in the next stream tomorrow, I'm gonna figure out some more stuff on the hinge joint, and on the next stream I'll finish up this joints thing, and I'll do this and I'll finish up the joint. This is not that hard. I might even actually do it tomorrow and just show how I did it on stream for those who are interested. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me this afternoon, or whatever time of day it is for you, and I'll see you guys Thursday if you're coming back. Have a good one.